Broadcasting from the business capital of the world, this is the Podcast Business News Network.
I feel many times in our lives, we come to that moment of question where we're at, especially when it comes to our faith, spirituality. I hear from a lot of friends that go through this from time to time. They wrestle with what is God? What is the divine? What is the spirituality in my life? She can help answer those questions and a lot more, and even send you in a certain direction or the one that you're looking to be in. She's a spiritual director with Izumi Wellspring Center, and she's Erin King. She's back on the program. Erin, welcome. How you doing today?
I'm doing great, Steve. Thank you.
Yeah, good to have you back. And I don't know why, but I'm hearing it more and more from friends that just and connections that just kind of feel lost. People are starting to go back to church. Maybe they're changing the kind of church that they go to, looking for that. Why don't we look at that for just one moment? Because I made a pivot there.
Okay.
I was raised Catholic.
Yes.
Up until about a year ago, and I'm fully transparent. Catholic church is fine. I just didn't feel connected. I was a lector. They said, "Hey, you got a good voice. Can you come and read?"
Great.
Full disclosure, whenever I would read, I really didn't know what I was saying.
That's good.
I would study it the morning of, night before, to be familiar with the pronunciations, because I'm kind of a stickler like that. But I found myself just kind of being lost there. And it was wonderful. The music was good. That was half the, for me, the fun. And then I pivoted over to more of a Christian church and just felt a little more connected in some regards. Do you hear that from people that you talk with?
Yes, and it depends on where people are in the journey. Just an aside, a Roman Catholic churches are Christian churches, so they're part of a big umbrella.
Absolutely. But
So
just the difference for anybody that doesn't know, I guess we, clarify some more. There's not communion every week. There's not call it the formality of what, and yes, there's a format with a Christian church, but it's not,
right.
it's just a little bit different.
Yes,
Yeah.
You're right. So, I had people come to me with questions or not sure what was working before is no longer working now. And that
Yes.
happens for many of us. And so it's determining what do you miss or what are you yearning for, and then trying to help a person figure out what that is and go towards it. So whether that is finding a faith community, and journeying with those people on a regular basis to share in worship and praise and music and prayer and study, in service to the greater community. At different times on the journey, those things are more important than other times. Sometimes our circle, our belief system shift, our how we understand ourselves with the divine, how we understand ourselves in the world around justice. If the group that I've been worshiping all my life doesn't fit with the things that's changing for me, so it makes sense to find another group that fits better.
It's interesting how we all have a reason for going. For me, I go to feel good. In the Christian church that I go to, and I try to go, every week, I don't need to hear all the Bible verses and all of that. I just talk to me. But everybody's different. Some people love that and love the interpretation of that. You can reach us if you want to weigh in, 631-319-6275 or instant feedback, steve@gmail.com. I do believe we have somebody. Hello.
Hi.
Hey, what's your name?
My name is Sabrina.
Sabrina checking in from Ocala, Florida. And Erin is here. Say hi.
Hi.
Hi, Sabrina.
How are you?
I'm great.
That's good. That's good. I do have a question.
Sure.
Yes.
I don't know if it's like a really good thing, but it's I lost my mom and my brother like 2 years apart, and I kind of find myself like losing faith in God. And I know we're not supposed to question God when things happen, but it's just like I don't know what to do.
Good question. And it's common to question one's faith in God when someone loses someone. You're not, even if you go back in the scripture tradition, the scriptures, there are many examples of people get angry with God, don't want to have anything to do with God, and pause. It's asking the questions. It's What is it about losing your mom and brother that raises questions for you today?
Like why?
That's a
Like I want
biggie.
to like I know they say like you know the good dying. Look, it's so many like bad things that happen, like bad, and they were just so young and they like
Yes,
died, you know, and it's just like why my mother, like you know, like really why my mom, why
yes,
my brother, like
right.
you know, like, and then it's just hard because I lost my biological mom when I was younger, and that
Uh-huh.
was my adopted mom, and then it was mine. They died. Like it's just like you know, like why does that? Not I want to say not why does bad stuff keep happening, but why take the people closest to me, kind of.
Right, right. It's trying to make sense of why did things happen. And that is another thing that's common for people who going through whatever they're going through. Why is this happening to me? Why is it happening to the bigger world? Why do young people have to die? It's not fair. Why, especially if they're what we call good people in our minds, and bad people are still around doing horrible things. Why is that happening? If there really was
Yeah,
a God, that wouldn't be happening. So goes the brain, right?
yeah.
Um, and it's just remembering that you're not alone, that the divine God is with you in this time. It's understanding a little bit about the cycles of life and death. It's all part of it. And it doesn't make sense. Even with so many years of training and education behind me, it's still a mystery. So
Yeah.
I don't have all the answers. None of us do. But to find someone to walk with you during this time so you can have someone to companion you with questions and remind you you're okay is part of what it is to have a spiritual companion.
And then so I just kind of also want to know, like, how do you keep the faith after like stuff like that happens?
Well, what do you do now?
Yeah, like 'cause that's well, right now it's just. I mean, I believe in God, and then I just you know I have questions so many things. So it's like I do pray. I
Mhm,
do pray, and I don't go to church as often as I used to. I know that.
mhm. Right. Well, I think the important thing is to continue to have a relationship with divine God. And right now, he says you're praying. Your prayer life might look different now than it did previously. Maybe your prayers are all about anger, all about confusion, all about questioning, and that's
Hmm.
okay. And it's keeping that communication going as best as possible.
Okay. Thank you.
I appreciate you
Oh,
and all your questions, Sabrina. Really good stuff.
Thank you.
Thank you so much for calling.
Bye.
Take care. Bye. Yeah, that's an interesting point there, Erin, in
mhm,
terms of keeping the dialogue open.
mhm.
Even if you're angry, at least you're connecting instead of
That's
just
right.
closing the door. I am done. I am out of here. And that's the way it's
Right.
going to be.
I think sometimes people have this illusion that when one has a relationship with the divine, it always has to be positive, always has to be praise,
Mm,
always has to be, oh, I'm so full of joy, which is part of it. Don't get me wrong, but it's not the whole
sure.
thing. You know, it's
Well, I think it also goes back to back in the day when you went to church. You had to have your
mhm.
Sunday best on with the best shoes on. Everything looks great. Oh, I just show up, man. If that's not good enough for you, buddy, that's
Right,
me. I'm giving you me, and that's
right,
how I feel.
right.
Yes, if we said before, as a lector, if
Mhm.
I'm in front of the church, the congregation, I would dress appropriately. But if I'm gonna wear jeans some days, not up on, on the altar, by the altar.
Right, right,
But that's my feeling. Everybody's
right.
different.
It's funny. I was working with a group of women last night, and we talked about being with the divine feminine in particular,
Mm.
when we feel like we're in the mud or muddy and messy, and to yearn for a god, a goddess, a divine feminine, a Madonna, back Madonna, who would be with us when things are going badly, will be with us when we don't know and we're confused, and just to know that we're not being pushed away or abandoned, but embraced during those times
Mm.
can be helpful and comforting.
Well, think about a friend. If you're
Mhm.
going through a tough time, what does a friend do, or what do you want a friend to do?
Yes,
Embrace you, hug you, make you feel comforted.
that's right. And I think what's hard too is how can you feel that from a divine, right? It's kind of
Mm,
like, huh? How does that work? I
mm,
sometimes say in my own personal journeys, I need God to have skin today. For me, when I say that is that I need some human connection or four-legged connection, for
Hmm. Sure.
babies. A class I'm going to be teaching in March is called How to Create Your Own Spiritual Shield. And the Celtic word for that is a lorica. And the idea is, how can you have a concrete representation of the divine being with you? And there's so many ways of feeling connected to the divine, whether with human touch, whether from our ancestors and our spirit guides, whether being connected to nature, but whether being connected to poetry and scriptures, music. And so by creating this lorica, that's a spiritual, the Celtic word for it, you have a representation of the divine being present with you. And for some people,
Hmm.
that's helpful. Instead of trying to think, where is the divine? I don't know. And it feels too luminous. You can't hold on to it. So
Yeah, we all want proof. You all want
exactly.
something tangible.
That's
And
right.
everybody's different. For me, I think I shared this last time we got together. Um, I asked for it. I asked for a
Mhm,
sign when I really need it.
mhm,
I'm careful about those. Like even
mhm.
favors. Don't ask for a favor unless you really need it. And more times than not, many more times than not, I get some kind of sign. So, for
Yes.
me, that's my validation that there is something there and there's something connected, to me in my spirituality. Can we talk about something that you do and offer, creative expression? I find it fascinating and intriguing.
Yes, I know. Some people do. So I love the quote. Let me see if I can find it. That's by Eric Gill. He says, the artist is not a different kind of person, but every person is a different kind of artist. I like that. Every
Hmm.
person is a different kind of artist, meaning we have the creative ability to be in the world in different ways, right? Um, so I've been trying to be an intentional creativity leader, facilitator, teacher. And what that means is I am with people to help them use creativity as a way to access their own story, to access their own connection to the divine, to access their own way of being in the world. And
Hmm.
so that can be done with painting, drawing, sketching, can be done through poetry and writing. It could be done with music and body movement, dance. And I even like to say, even moving into gardening and baking and cooking, and how you set up your rooms and homes, creating sacred space by tapping that creative part of us using symbol. We feel more connected to the divine that way. And people go, huh? What? That doesn't make any sense.
That's my next question.
And
how do you connect?
and what that is in the doing, in the process, we are co-creating with divine. You know, I
Ah,
believe that I believe it creation wasn't a one-time event. I think creation is continually happening in the world, in nature, within our bodies as well as with us in the world. And so when we can co-create and then step back afterwards and reflect on what we created, we can see that something was going on. We weren't actually aware. So it's
hmm.
understanding that more fully, with the process and the doing, reflecting, and then looking again back and forth. I have found
Ah,
for myself and for working with others that process, intentional creativity, it something emerges, and it wasn't just me. I didn't think it to happen; it just happened. And so that creative process is just like awesome, AWE, awesome. That I can actually continue to create, and I'm not doing
hmm.
it by myself.
So you feel, Erin, that when you take that time to create,
Mhm,
whatever it might be, painting, needlepoint, whatever it
mhm.
is, write a book, that you're not doing it alone. You have divine intervention as part of it. And that's how you connect with your divine and spirituality.
Yes, and I wouldn't say divine intervention. It sounds
When I said it, it was kind of deep, but I meant it in a certain way.
Right.
That the divine intervenes to help you with, if you want to believe that all of our talents are God-given,
Mhm.
right? And that's been said before. Some believe that is where it's coming from. And now that you are creating, it's not all just you. You're the co-creator in some
Right.
regards.
Right. And we can see, if you want some example, we can see that work, that creating process with children. If you look at, you give children, paper and crayons, let's say,
Sure.
and go make something, they'll do it. And you ask them to tell you about that, there's a story. And so there's more than that
Hmm.
they're capable of creating. There's more going on. Um,
Wow.
so it's if you look at it from that perspective, I think you can get a bigger picture how it is with adults. Adults, we want to understand it, rationalize it, but it's more intuitive. It's more
Hmm.
being in touch with the muse. That's another word we use often. That's within us. Um, and it's the work of turning off the critic. As an adult, that critic voice is there constantly. And if we let the critic be quiet for a while and just see what emerges, we can often be surprised.
My gosh. Yes. And even when I was a kid, I wanted to be a syndicated cartoonist. So I was
Uh-huh.
very artsy, love drawing, love. I think we talked about that a little bit
Yeah,
with
yeah,
Izumi,
yes.
with Japanese
That's
painting.
Sumie, yes.
Sumi, thank you. That's it.
Yep.
Uh, but when I used to, even as a teenager, early 20s, even younger, back and forth, when I would draw something or work on something, many times it wasn't good enough. I was my
Mhm.
own inner critic, and it was
Mhm.
perfectly fine. And I could
Yes,
never let that go. It needed to be perfect. Um,
right.
so it's wonderful just to create just because, with not getting judged by any of that. And I recently talked to somebody who has a dance studio, and I thought they had the studio for performances.
Mhm.
No, it was more for creative expression
That's right.
and to help people going through things to
That's right.
express themselves on a dance floor, in a room, whatever it might be.
Mhm.
And I learned how powerful, from talking with this person and seeing all of their work, how powerful this stuff is.
Right. I have found working with people who have grief or experiencing grief or have experienced trauma that doing the creative process helps them move through it
Mm,
and make meaning of what's happened to them. Again, all my classes, I say you do not have to have artistic ability to be able to be in the class. That's
sure.
not what it is. It's not that kind of a class. It's giving you an opportunity to see what's kind of on the inside and you're not able to attend to. So by putting it out on paper or on a canvas or in a garden, we have more ideas of what's going on. And sometimes the dark colors or the splat or the anger or what will give us some clues we weren't even aware of. And
Mm.
by seeing that, we can have a dialogue with what we see, and that gives us more insight.
Where do you begin with that when it comes to the creative expression and using it as an outlet to connect with spirit or divine? Where do you start? Do you find something that you think you like, gravitate toward it, try new things? What's the starting point?
Um, I guess the easiest for me when I'm working with someone, just in general, say if you would come over, where do we begin? I would say, let's create a mandala. And a mandala is just a circle on a piece of paper. And in that, just quiet, just take a couple of deep breaths and then choose a color. And with the colors, create something. And it's amazing that just in that process of
Hmm.
choosing colors and seeing what emerges, something comes up. And
So,
it's in the dialogue around that that you get new insight.
so it's really just start somewhere,
Yes,
and it eventually comes out of you.
it does. It
Huh.
does. Yeah.
Wow. What's your favorite thing to do?
Um, well, I'm two things. I guess the mandala is the one I'm known for in this area as the mandala woman. That I've done many workshops and retreats and classes. Been trained to analyze the symbols and what does it mean. So that's my go-to. In fact, I was working on one this morning. But then I really enjoy being attentive to the divine feminine and how can we represent the divine feminine in the world today. And so that's been a lot of my painting has been on images, different
Okay.
images of the divine feminine.
What medium is your favorite to work in?
Acrylic,
Okay. Yeah.
acrylic paint. Yes.
I
Is what
was big on watercolor and acrylic. Never went down the oil road. Just too much work. Too
right,
too,
right.
too messy, too hard. That everybody's different.
And oil pastels. For
Ah,
something
okay.
they're real quick. Those are really quick and being able to blend you can make it have a watercolor effect
Yep,
with that too.
exactly. Yeah.
Those-
And for you, and I'm just, I love learning about people and what their likes are, and the end goal here is your expression. What do you gravitate to when you pick subjects to paint or create?
I usually begin with a theme, what's going on in my world right now. And from there, I just pay attention to what colors come forth and then build a background and then find an image. I usually coordinate, connect guided meditation with that too, and seeing what emerges. So it's a combination of intuition and imagination and trusting the process. I like acrylics a lot because if I don't like what I put on the canvas first, I can always go back and
Hmm.
reshape and put different colors.
Do you, and final question on this, because I love to learn about the process. Do you, I mean, call it meditate on it? Do you close your eyes and say, all right, what am I going to work on today? What's coming to me? What am I literally feeling? And then go to it?
Well, I do that when I'm creating a mandala because that's kind of like something I can do every day, and I have done that before
Hmm.
every day. But when I'm working with canvas on a canvas, I'm usually working with a theme, and so it's sitting with a question: what is my intention? What pops? And paying attention to that intuitive process, that muse within. It may not make any sense, but I just do it. And once I start the painting process, I kind of go away and I focus on what I'm doing.
I'm glad you used the word intuitive.
Mhm.
When was the last time something something hit you, something came to you, and it was your intuition, and you got kind of surprised, like, whoa, oh, okay. Maybe it's something that was validated.
Yes, that happens often. So I would say
Okay.
every day I'm connected to my intuition. I mean, just as one who facilitates groups with the women last night I was with, I just felt intuitive that we need to do a guided meditation by the guided meditation was experiencing the divine presence in front of us and having a relationship with that in our imaginations. And that was very calming for the women we were talking to, as well as informative. They gave them new information they hadn't realized before.
Hmm. So essentially, lack of a better description, things popped in their head that they had just realizations. Wow, okay, I see that, I feel that, and that wasn't something that they connected with before.
Correct. Right.
Wow. Hmm. I never connected a meditation or a guided meditation to something spiritual like that.
Yeah, it
Wow.
is. Yeah.
Hmm. That's like an aha moment for me. And I know it's kind of ridiculous to say, um,
Oh,
but I've never, never thought that, yeah, all right, you want the answers, you want to feel a certain way, look at it in terms of meditation.
right. Especially guided meditation when you're using your imagination to imagine you are at the seashore or in the mountains. And if you imagine, calling on someone or a presence to be with you. And in my imagination is that I can smell smells, I can hear sounds out in nature. I mean, the body does not know, the brain does not know the difference between my imagination and the real thing. And research has shown that that is true. So
Wow.
that's why guided meditation is so important to have as a tool.
Hmm. I'll be in Jamaica in about 5 minutes if that's okay.
There
On a
you
sunny
go.
beach.
It's too hot for me.
Well, you know what? I'll never say that. I'll never say that. Just everybody's different.
Right.
But that's pretty powerful stuff to look at it in that way. That the mind doesn't know the difference. So you can, when you hear the word teleport, you can teleport your mind to a place where you want to be. I don't think we, myself included, put enough stock in our mind and our imagination and what we can get from it.
Yes. Yes.
Hmm.
Imagination can be a powerful tool for all humans, little kids, all up to the elderly. And how we use the imagination, of course, is, that's the issue. But from a positive perspective, we can use it to calm our bodies.
Mm-hmm.
We can use it to create something new, gain insight, gain, something we're grappling with. Something can pop. We didn't even think of it before. So, yeah.
Isn't it interesting? Erin, that, we're here talking about spiritual direction, but we went in a different direction. It all kind of connects. But even what you said, if I didn't know you were a spiritual director, you just gave some insight on our imagination and why we should use the power of that to feel like we're someplace if we want to try and meditate. I've been trying to meditate forever, and I've never thought of let me put myself on that beach in that chair.
There you go.
With a drink, with a book, whatever, and go on vacation for a half hour.
Yes.
It's kind of ridiculous to say that, but I never thought that our minds don't know the difference.
That's right. And if you put some YouTube music or nature sounds in the background, you're even there even more.
You know what? Very true. And I'll find myself and I love tropical. I could put on reggae. I could scan through all different types of music, and I love everything. But then I stop on reggae and it resonates in a split second. I'm like, okay, I'm there. Maybe a quarter of the way there. This would get me. This will give me 75% of the way there, and booking online will get me 100% there. But good talk today. You have a lot of insight. What's your website?
It is IzumiWellspring.com. So Izumi Wellspring, IZUMI Wellspring.com.
And if anybody feels lost, needs direction, you're there to help them.
In person and on Zoom. Yes. Yeah.
And even over the phone, we just talked to Sabrina and gave her some insight as well. Erin, always great talking with you. I really appreciate it.
Thanks, Steve.
Thank you.
Till next time.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, we'll come right back. Don't go anywhere.
Are you looking for even more of the podcasts and hosts that you love? The Podcast Business News Network is proud to announce that you now have even more ways to listen live. Check out the MyTuner Radio, online radio box, and Simple Radio apps on iOS and Android, or find us online. Search for Business News Network on mytuner-radio.com, or search Podcast Business News Network on streama.com and onlineradiobox.com/US. Take your podcast on the go and don't miss a minute of the action.
Broadcasting from the business capital of the world, this is the Podcast Business News Network.
For nearly 2,000 severely injured veterans, everyday life has become filled with barriers.
Day-to-day simple tasks can become pretty daunting.
I have to carry my chair up 2 flights of steps or have somebody do it for me.
What scares me the most is just the falling.
When I'm struggling with my house, I think, to have that one great barrier just knocked down, it's crucial.
Home for Our Troops is a wonderful nonprofit that builds a
mortgage-free, fully adaptive, handicap-accessible house.
And there's no catch.
It'll be our very first home that we've ever owned.
This is a game changer.
This is where your life begins again.
We need you to join us in completing this important mission. Please visit hfotusa.org and help build homes and rebuild lives.
Because of you, everything's going to be okay.